The Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl 57 champions. After being down at halftime against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, they stormed back and won 38-35. One of my favorite Super Bowls I've ever watched because it was just a very exciting, high-scoring game. And Patrick Mahomes, to me, proved that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And that entire Chiefs team seems to be untouched. Besides one player leaving, this team is generally the same as it was last season. Therefore, it's time to take a look at the former Super Bowl champs. Is this team the best team when it comes to fantasy? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Aaron and this is the Game Day Hour. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Team Review. In this series, we take a look at each and every 32 NFL franchises and see what they offer for fantasy football. Here we analyze the team's quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1 and 2, tight end, and starting kicker. Our goal is to analyze last season and see if they're worth drafting, and if so, when and where. Today, we end off the AFC West with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. Undoubtedly, the best quarterback in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. Ever since he's been in the league, he's been in the AFC Championship as a starter every single year in Arrowhead. He is one of the most dominant quarterbacks out there, averaging around 4,000 yards. In his first year, he had 50 touchdowns. He is unbelievable. Statistically, he is the best quarterback. Let's take a look. He played 17 games last year, well, more, but he played 17 games last year and he had 435 completions, which was third, 648 attempts, which is third, 67.1% of his passes completed, that's tied for ninth. He had 5,250 passing yards, that's first, 41 touchdowns, that's first, 12 interceptions, that's tied for 105th, 61 carries, that's 75th, 358 rushing yards, that's 62nd, 4 touchdowns on the ground, that's tied for 36th. He had 482 total fantasy points, which was first among all quarterbacks in fantasy, and he was also the MVP last year. So, big accolades and a winner no matter what. He is the best quarterback. So where do you think I have him ranked? He's clearly first. He's the best quarterback in the league, the first quarterback to go off the board almost every single time. Therefore, yes, you should draft him. If he's there and he is suit for your position, he's the best quarterback no matter what. I mean, he in certain leagues could be the first overall draft pick, depending on how you guys draft. He could be in the third round, depending on if you go running backs and wide receivers first. But no matter what, he's the first quarterback that goes off the board 9 times out of 10. Therefore, always keep an eye on Mahomes. He should always be on your draft board very high. Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs running back. Talk about emerging from the shadows. I didn't even know about Isaiah Pacheco, but ever since he took over the starting role for the Kansas City Chiefs, he's been one of the best running backs in the league. Let's take a look at his stats. Keep in mind, even though he played all 17 games, you really start to see the production near the halfway point of the season. And he had 170 carries, which was 33rd, 830 rushing yards, that's 25th, 5 touchdowns, that's 25th, and 125 total fantasy points, that is 37th. But that number is bound to go up. And for Patrick Mahomes, that would be a big deal. And if he can get involved in the passing game, I mean, he can be a big help to Mahomes and that offense. Therefore, is he somebody I would draft? Absolutely. He is somebody I would draft. Now, he's 25th on my list, so he is a running back 3 at heart. I don't think he's higher than that. I think he needs to have more production, like more touchdowns, not just rushing yards, but more touchdowns in general. If he can get that going, then he could jump to a running back 2. I don't know if he'll jump to a running back 1 with Mahomes on the Chiefs, but hey, he can still be a big fantasy help in those positions. Kadarius Toney, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver 1. Though they have the best quarterback in the NFL, the Chiefs wide receiver core is in progress. It's like it's being made, and it feels weird, but I will go with these two wide receivers. They don't have amazing stats, and especially not right here. Kadarius Toney was with the Giants for a few years before he was traded to the Chiefs, and since being on the Chiefs, he does have a blockbuster moment, the punt return in the Super Bowl that put the Chiefs in position to have 35 points in the fourth quarter. One of the biggest plays of the entire game. But his stats last year were extremely lacking. He played 9 games for both the Giants and the Chiefs, combined. He didn't play 9 games each. And in those 9 games, he had 16 receptions, that's tied for 223rd. 171 receiving yards, that's tied for 213th. And he had 2 touchdowns, that's tied for 111th, which gave him 54 total fantasy points, that's tied for 107th. But now he's the number 1 wide receiver on this lineup, which does a lot because even Patrick Mahomes says he has the opportunity to have the most upside among all wide receivers. And if that's the case, then he is somebody to be looking forward to. But as far as drafting, not yet. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on him just yet. He's not on my board, therefore I wouldn't draft him. So I have to wait for the production of this year to see if what Mahomes says is going to come true. So I'm going to wait to see if what Mahomes says comes true, but if it's not what it seems, I don't think he is going to be somebody I would draft. He might be highly draftable for some other guys, but not for me. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver 2. However, I don't know if I'll be able to say the same about MVS or Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but Scantling had a pretty okay year for being a wide receiver 2. He played 17 games last year, and in those 17 games, he had 42 receptions, which was tied for 93rd, 687 receiving yards, that's 55th, 2 touchdowns, that's tied for 111th, and 117 total fantasy points, which was 54th, just outside the top 50. But I do think his production will go up this year if Kadarius Toney does take that wide receiver 1 position, because I do believe in this case the wide receiver 2 has more leverage going against the lesser of the 2 cornerbacks on each team. And because of this, he is actually ranked on my list. He's 38th, which means he is somebody I would draft, but as a wide receiver 4, a very low wide receiver 4. In some cases, he might not even be drafted, but I do think he is somebody who is worth drafting, but very low. I would say a wide receiver like 4 on rounds 11 through 13, just extremely low picks because most of the catches, well, we all know who they go to. Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs tight end. It's extremely rare to see 2 positions take control of the best. And what I mean is, not only does Kansas City have the best quarterback, but they have the best tight end in Travis Kelce. As a matter of fact, Travis Kelce could be one of the best tight ends in NFL history. And last season, his stats were, for a tight end, as you know, we've looked over many tight ends, but we have yet to see one with these type of stats. Here we go. He played 17 games last year, and in those 17 games, he had 110 receptions. That's 3rd among all. This is wide receivers and running backs included. So he's 3rd among all receivers. 1,338 receiving yards. That's 8th. He has 12 touchdowns. That's 2nd. And he has 309 total fantasy points. That's 1st among all tight ends, and 100 more than 2nd place among all tight ends. That is extremely impressive. And if I said it's a no-brainer that Mahomes is number 1, it's a no-brainer that Kelce is a number 1. And he's generally drafted in rounds 1 through 3. Therefore, he is somebody who you're going to want to draft. He is a high prospect, and I believe anybody who has him at the tight end position is getting a lot for a position that generally would average 7 to 8 points. He can put up 13 to 17. He is amazing. He is Travis Kelce. And that's just what he does. He is just that great of a player. And if you get him and Mahomes, you got yourself a dynamic duo on fantasy. Harrison Butker, Kansas City Chiefs kicker. Lastly, we have Harrison Butker. I don't know what to call Butker. He is one of the top kickers in the entire league. However, in what way? And looking at his stats, I think I kind of figured out what way that is. He played 13 games last year, and for those 13 games, he was 18 for 24, which is 75%, tied for 35th. 92.7% from extra point percentage, that's 31st. He had the longest field goal for 62 yards, which was first. 92 points, which gave him 98 total fantasy points, which is tied for 27th. So he didn't play a lot of games last year, but he is one of the best deep threat kickers in the entire league. He kicks from long. Obviously, he holds, the record for this season. Obviously, not the record all time. That's Justin Tucker, but he is one of the best clutch kickers as well. And yeah, he is somebody who I definitely would draft. If you played all the games, he is 100% somebody you want on your team as a kicker one. On my list, he is third, just behind Carlson and Tucker. But I have to say, man, he is always somebody fun to have on your team. He's somebody who's generally, in my league, the best kicker. Everybody likes to go for him because in my league, longer kicks have more points, which is a bigger incentive to get him. So yeah, that's Harrison Butker. I see him being drafted in rounds 7 through 9, and yeah, you should go after him if you're looking for a really good kicker. And that'll do it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you do, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Please subscribe and hit that bell notification to get updates for when my videos are going to come out. Next week, we're going to be looking at the entire NFC West to end off this series for this summer. And we'll be starting with the Arizona Cardinals. So I'll look forward to seeing you guys there. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitter, X, and Instagram. And be sure that you follow on those sites too, so you can always get notifications when my videos are up. And yeah, to give me ideas what I can do. And so yeah, that'll be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care and goodbye.